Coming to you from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, this is All Out Destruction Tour. This is a special week because you're getting a double dose of racing. That's right. I will tell you why right after we go through the point standings, because we have Son of a Digger in first place after he doubled down last week. Behind him, Black Pearl looking for his first win of the season tonight, whether in racing or freestyle. Then we have Northern Nightmare followed behind him, Gravedigger, who has not lost a single race all season long. Who can knock him off? Wildside behind him, trailing him, we have the Destroyer. Then we have Wolf's Head, followed by Vendetta, then El Toro Loco, and then Toyota Racing Development. Only have one question. Are you ready?
Destruction! Are you talking guys with the sucking blade? Run destruction! Engines roar, skies ignite, metal beasts in endless fight, tires crush the earth, fuel-fed chaos giving birth, madness reigns, no retreat, feel the thunder, feel the heat, through the flames we rise, monsters in the sky.
And our first racer is taking the line. That is Vendetta, driven by Overkill Evolution out of Houston, Texas. Looking strong so far this year. He's cracked the top 10. He's looking to build on that momentum and keep climbing the point status as these nights go on. And he'll be taking on Carolina Crusher, driven by D. Wheeler from Fenton, Michigan. One part of the Wheeler family. Both very strong racers. Him and his wife, Elle Wheeler, who drives Time Flies, both looking to have a better week this week, as D. Wheeler was knocked out in round 1 of racing last week, so he's looking to bounce back this week up against Vendetta, who's looking to stop him from having Carolina Crusher jump him in points as we get ready to go green. Both drivers get a strong start out the gate. This is St. Louis style racing, so lane choice does matter as opposed to the Chicago style that you guys have seen so far this season. As they come into that final turn, Carolina Crusher looking good, and he's going to take this one. Strong start for D. Wheeler and Carolina Crusher. Bouncing back strong this week after that disappointing round 1 exit last week. The reason we're sticking with racing this week instead of freestyle is because the freestyle track, well, there really wasn't a whole lot to say. The drivers gave their all, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like it was good entertainment. As we take a look at TRD, Toyota Racing Development driver Tay2 Val out of St. Louis, Missouri. And I want to give a special shout out to Floof, driver of Wolf's Head, on Saturday for making me these driver cards. He did an amazing job, Floof, as he takes on Sid in Rage, also a CRC chassis as well. So this should be a good race. Tay looking for some vengeance on Sid from last week after Rage eliminated Sid in racing last week. So let's see if Tay's got what it takes to take Sid out this week as we get ready to go green. Both drivers get nice jumps from the line. Into the turn they go, trying to stay as tight as they can. Into that final turn. Tay looking very strong in that Toyota Racing Development truck as he takes his victory and vengeance on Sid, who took him out last week. Again, lane choice is going to play a factor in racing tonight, as the person with the higher points gets to choose the lane they want to run in. And that can make all the difference as we get a look at El Toro Loco, who was out last week, but back this week, driven by Falf out of Morrisville, North Carolina. And as I've always said before, Falf is a total showman. If there's anybody out here who's just having fun, it's Falf. And he'll be taking on the other Wheeler, Time Flies, driven by El Wheeler, also out of Fenton, Michigan. She's looking very strong. She got to round 2 last week, picking up some big wins in racing. Let's see what she can do tonight against Falf. Is it the night for the Wheelers? Or will Falf and El Toro Loco end her party early? Let's take a look. This is a Willman chassis, which is an older chassis, versus a Racehorse chassis, which seems to be the most used chassis of racers, as El Wheeler gets a nice jump on Falf from the start. I don't know if Falf was sleeping, but he's trying to make up the distance now as they both come into that final turn. El Wheeler into the final turn, looking very strong. Girl power, am I right, boys? As she gets in all kinds of trouble, but she's able to save it. I think that race was won on the line. I don't know what happened to Falf. He just fell a little asleep at that line, and unfortunately for him, El Wheeler cannot be slept on. As we get a look at Son of a Digger, the guy who doubled down last week, the leader of All Out Destruction Tour, Evil Nexus from Chesapeake, Virginia, looking to continue his dominance that he's had all season long so far, not only in freestyle, but also in racing, as he wins last week. Team Gravediggers looks so strong as he's going to be taking on Bulldozer. Let's take a look at him, Cell Halo, out of Eatonton, Georgia, looking to get himself up in the point standings as well. So this should be a good one. I'm pretty sure this is Racehorse chassis versus Racehorse chassis, which is a different look of the El Toro Loco chassis. I know they both look like bulls, but completely different trucks from a driving standpoint. As we get ready to go green and see if Evil Nexus can continue his dominance. And we're going. Evil Nexus a little slow off the takeoff, but Bulldozer shakes those horns off, as he's so known to do with that chassis. Into the final turn, Nexus is really turning up the juice. It's going to be anybody's race, and Nexus is pulling out the victory in Son of a Digger as he runs to the back. I'm not sure if he's having issues with that truck that he needs to get tuned in. But a big race for Evil Nexus, continuing where he left off last week. Tough break for Bulldozer as we get a look at Wildside. And that's going to be driven by Mr. Luna out of Houston, Texas. He recently switched from the PEI chassis to the Racehorse chassis, and he'll be taking on a guy who just had a really strong run in round 1. That's Carolina Crusher, driven by D. Wheeler. So Wheeler hoping to continue that momentum forward as Wildside takes a couple practice takeoffs from the starting line. I will say, after the last couple races, I don't blame him, because the takeoffs have been a big deal in regards to racing. But at the end of the day, the line that you drive is what I think is most important from racing this track. As we get ready to go green, both trucks get a good jump. D. Wheeler gets into the turn first, but Wildside's right there with him. It's all going to come down to that final turn, that crucial turn. And look at D. Wheeler go. Just absolutely dominant performance by D. Wheeler and Carolina Crusher. Looking so strong this week. So many of these guys have racing backgrounds in real life. And I do think that that helps you when it comes to racing, this type of racing. As we get our first look at Black Pearl tonight. Probably one of the top racers on the Saturday Tour, driven by Raisin Racer 22 out of New York. So Black Pearl looking to continue his successful racing season. Unfortunately for him, though, He's always seemed to have trouble when it comes down to taking out Gravedigger. It seems to be the one hurdle that he's having an issue with, and he'll be taking on Toyota Racing Development's Tay2 Valid with the CRC chassis versus Racing Razor in the PEI chassis. PEI not known to be a great turning chassis, but it's got a lot of power in the straightaway, so that's where you're going to look to see Black Pearl take this if he can. As we get started, and there's Tay with a nice lead off the jump. Black Pearl goes a little wide on that first turn as Toyota stays tight, but there's that PEI power I was talking about into that final turn. And Black Pearl's in trouble, but he's able to get the win. Despite his troubles, Tay was just not able to catch Raisin in that last turn. As your winner, Black Pearl will continue his dominance in racing. We'll see what happens when he reaches Gravedigger. Speaking of who, here he is, undefeated all season long, Gravedigger. Let's take a look at the driver of Gravedigger, Sweats out of North Carolina. That makes sense, because Gravedigger's out of North Carolina himself, undefeated all season long. Hasn't lost a single race. Who will stop this man? I'll tell you what, if his opponent has anything to say about it, she's hoping to stop him, as he's going to be taking on Elle Wheeler in Time Flies, who's already done an upset tonight. And you know, I call it an upset, but she's looked so strong in racing that I don't think that we can actually classify as an upset. But I will say one thing, she's going to have her hands full against this man in Gravedigger. Sweats again, undefeated all season long. Can she do it? Let's take a look. Let's go green. And there's Gravedigger getting a nice jump. Not a big jump, but just enough. You cannot make any mistakes when you're racing Sweats. As we go into the final turn, and just look at that clean turn right past the nipple over this finish line. Honorable effort by Elle Wheeler, but it just wasn't enough to take down the top racer in the league at the moment. But if there's anybody who can do it, it's this man right here. Son of a Digger, driven by Evil Nexus, who is the points leader of the Saturday Tour and the leader of AODT. And he'll be taking on D Wheeler in Carolina Crusher. So will the Wheelers continue on, or will Team Gravedigger end their racing night early? As both drivers line up. This is Racehorse Chassis versus Racehorse Chassis. This is going to come down to how good of a driver are you. As both drivers take off at the same time into the first turn. Evil Nexus stays tight as Carolina Crusher goes a little wider into that final turn. Both drivers handle it well. And oh man, what a finish. I will say that Son of a Digger had a cleaner run, but let's take that look again. As you look at Carolina Crusher in the bottom of your screen, he hits that nipple, which gets his front up, and that ends up making him wheelie and allows him to keep lower, and that gives Carolina Crusher the opportunity to move forward. Typically, that would be a disqualification, but it looks like the judges saw enough there to let Carolina Crusher continue on. As we get ready to see a race that we've seen play out many times on AODT between Black Pearl and Gravedigger, Raisin Racer versus Sweats. It won't be the last time that we see these two match up this year, as these two are the top two racers in the league along with Son of a Digger. I would say those three are the fastest. But nobody's knocked off Gravedigger or Sweats yet. Can this be the time that Raisin does it? Gravedigger's been the monkey on his back all season long as both trucks get solid starts. Black Pearl goes tight to the corner. Both stay tight to the corner. Into this final turn that is so important. Raisin goes wide, but that gives him more momentum into the final. And that is Gravedigger eking out a win barely. But man, Did Raisin give him everything that Gravedigger could handle and then some? Let's take a look at the replay one more time as he comes to the final turn here. You just see Sweats on that rail. Raisin goes a little wider, which does give him more momentum into that final jump, but it's not enough to catch Sweats, who wins by about a tread, I'd say. So Gravedigger will be heading to the finals against Carolina Crusher. This is something straight out of the 90s, folks. Two trucks that have been around for many decades, getting ready to square off for one final race of the night. Does D Wheeler and Carolina Crusher have what it takes to knock off the undefeated Gravedigger? As you can see, Sweats just out there having fun, and I think that is part of what makes him so dangerous. He's just out here to have a good time, and I think that a lot of you people at home don't realize how stressful these races are between these drivers. So to see Sweats just hanging out and having a good time makes him even more dangerous. But does D Wheeler have what it takes to dish out Gravedigger's first L of the year? Carolina Crusher did it in the 90s. Can he do it here tonight? As we get ready to go green. Gravedigger versus Carolina Crusher. And we're off. Both drivers, good strong starts to the race. As you see Sweats take that turn so tight, but Wheeler's right there with him. He goes a little wider, but that gives him more momentum into that final turn. But Sweats just will not be denied as he continues his undefeated racing streak. One more week, another Sweats Racing victory. Who will stop this man? Someone's got to stop this man on the Saturday tour. So Sweats takes out the entire Wheeler family on his way to another racing victory here tonight. As you see him celebrating, this man needs to be stopped. He's like the Brock Lesnar of AODT. Who will stop Sweats and Gravedigger? As Team Gravedigger has just looked unstoppable, and well, we're living up to our all-out destruction name, folks, as you look there and see Sweats piggyback on top of Carolina Crusher, as we look forward to a little bit of stunts from Gravedigger, your racing champion tonight. Beautiful jump over Carolina Crusher, and it's awesome for D Wheeler to give these people at home a show. As you look at Sweats here, do a somersault front handspring over Carolina Crusher. Is there anything this man cannot do? Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up racing in AODT tonight, as Sweats from North Carolina and Gravedigger is your racing champion yet again. The streak continues as we get a chance to take a look at the updated Saturday Tour points, with Son of a Digger Evil Nexus still in first place with a commanding lead of 94 points. Behind him, Black Pearl with 88. Behind him, Gravedigger with 74 points. Evil Nexus is an all-star when it comes to freestyling, and he doubled down last week, which put him in a nice position to continue his points reign. Behind them, Northern Nightmare jumping up to 6th is Vendetta, jumping up to 7th, TRD. 8th is El Toro Loco, with Bulldozers for the Bulls back-to-back 8th and 9th, and then following up in the last 10th place, Brutus. As we get a look at Black Pearl, who is your freestyle winner. So it's not all sadness for Raisin Racer, as he does pick up a big freestyle win tonight, and that helps him out in the points. As we take a look at his freestyle run, and you'll see what I mean, how I just didn't really feel like the freestyle track had a lot to offer in ways of entertainment value this week, which is why the racing was chosen. Typically I would stick to my schedule, but as a commentator, there's only so much you can say about someone hitting jumps again and again. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to show you the winning freestyle run that Raisin had tonight. As you can see, he just stays busy, hits these jumps. I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you again to Floof, driver of Wolf's Head, on Saturday for the amazing work he did on those driver cards you saw during racing. Again, it's hard to really say anything because it's just jumps, really, into a nose wheelie, though, but doesn't hold it. There's a big air for Raisin. Truck holding together well. PEIs are a bit more fragile than the Racers counterpart. But I'll tell you what, nobody drives PEI better than Raisin does. As he just stays busy, hitting jumps, just sending that truck, spending more time in the air than he is on the ground, to a nice slap wheelie there into a transfer. Here comes a big air for Raisin into that St. Louis sky. Nice drift into the corner as he gets ready to line up that backflip ramp. Throws out a nice backflip, held it, and was able to get it around as he goes into a wheelie from there and is able to maneuver the truck beautifully. And that is your freestyle winner tonight for this Saturday tour. So congratulations to Raisin Racer in Black Pearl on his first freestyle win of the season. So congratulations to our winner, Black Pearl in freestyle, Raisin Racer, and then Sweats just continuing his dominance in racing. If not for anything else, tune in every week on All Out Destruction Tour to see who will knock down Sweats, or will he go undefeated all season long. I am your host, E.G. Lately, saying I will see you guys in 2 weeks.